Hi, this is Ohio nursing home abuse lawyer Will Eadie. I just got done with a probate court approval hearing, and what that is, at least in Ohio, when we settle a wrongful death case involving a nursing home or assisted living facility, we go to the probate court. We sue in a different court, the common pleas court. The probate court is where they approve the settlement, decide if it's fair and reasonable. They approve the expenses in the case, they approve the attorney's fees, and they decide how the funds are going to be apportioned. And I was pinch hitting for another attorney in our office who had a conflict, and we don't like to delay those hearings because we can't process the settlement and get those clients the funds until it's approved. And as I met with the clients, really liked them a lot, great family. They, prepped them for the hearing. There's not much to it if you have a good settlement, good result. Now, this wasn't the largest case in the office. There were some factual and legal issues that brought the monetary value down from some of our other cases that don't have those same issues. But of course, every case is important, and it's the most important case, obviously, for this family. And so I met with them last night, prepped them a little bit. Always tell them, hey, if you get asked questions directly, just answer honestly, and you can always pitch it over to me, say I defer to counsel, and get my input on anything like that. And so I was dealing with the magistrate who asked me to solicit some testimony from them. So I did. They were sworn in, and asked them, this is all by Zoom or a Zoom equivalent, asked them, do you agree with the settlement and the reasonableness and all these things? And of course, like I said, it's not the highest value case in the office, but of course, that's not really what's driving most of our clients, really all of our clients. It's not about the money. If they could push a button and go back in time and not have to deal with this and have their loved one, their mother, father, sister, brother, spouse, sometimes child back in their life, they would do that in a heartbeat. So I asked those kind of basic questions, and then I made maybe a lawyer mistake. I asked a question to which I didn't know the answer, and I said, this is really your chance to say whatever you want about the case, about the settlement, anything like that. And if you feel something in your heart you want to say, go for it, or don't at all. It's fine. And what she said, and it struck me, was dealing with, in this case, her mother, witnessing this abuse and neglect, seeing the decline, and the outcome, which was her death ultimately, was very difficult. And we're all nodding along because that's real stuff there. And then she said something I didn't expect. She said, and Eadie Hill, and again, it wasn't, no credit here, it wasn't my case, it was other lawyers in our office handling it. They said, Eadie Hill did such a great job. Now, she didn't say with the great result, with, kicking their butt and doing all these things that we as lawyers take a lot of pride in. She said, keeping me informed every step of the way, helping me understand what was going on and helping us feel like we were being cared for. And that struck me in part because it's such a contrast to what they tell me about how they feel about the nursing home or the assisted living facility that they have a case against, where often they don't get answers when they bring it up. Hey, I'm worried about mom, I'm worried about dad, I'm worried about my husband, how they're looking, what's going on. And then they don't get answers after the fact. They don't get the, I'm sorry, we made a mistake. They don't get those kinds of things. And they feel very disrespected. And it's easy as lawyers, I think, for me at least, to think I'm going to just grind away and I'll let them know, when we've really kicked their butt or something like that, but miss the element of how important it is for them to feel heard, respected, cared for, especially after this bad, terrible situation that they've dealt with. And that was really what jumped out. And she said this whole thing about just feeling respected, and it really brought home to me how important that is and how important it is to remember that as lawyers, as people. And frankly, I couldn't wait to call her afterwards and thank her for being so thoughtful and for giving us a reminder of what's really important in all this. And it really isn't ultimately about the money. It's about that accountability, and it's about caring and respect for, after something terrible happens, what can we do from there? So I hope that if you have any kind of terrible experience or have to deal with a lawyer, you get a similar experience. Or if you are a lawyer, take it to heart. As I recall the data, one of the main complaints people get against them as lawyers is lack of communication, not knowing what's going on. And even if you do a great job, if they don't know every step of the way what's going on and that someone is working for them, then it can feel very empty, even if you ultimately get them a great result. So Ohio nursing home abuse lawyer Will Eadie, wishing you and your loved ones stay safe, happy, and healthy in a nursing home.